welcome to another episode of Community Conversations with Tyrone Darden on TAN TV. The topic of discussion today is education, and we have a guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Dr. Doshie Piper. I'm an associate professor of criminal justice at the University of the Incarnate Word.
Tell us a little bit more. What is your passion for education?
I think my passion for education comes with the reality that, like, what you know, what you acquire, what you obtain cannot be taken away from you. And I think that for me, it's sacred and it's special, and it's something that I own, something that you own, something that Jade, who's my daughter, that she owns. Yeah.
So this part of the conversation I like to call top of mind.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a phrase, and whether it be a word, a phrase, or a sentence, just go ahead, whatever comes top of mind, give it back to me. School choice.
A racket.
A racket. Wow. So my word has been equity. I've heard freedom. I've heard good luck. I'm interested to hear more about a racket.
So the reason why I think it's a racket or could potentially be a racket is because only private schools really benefit from it. Like the public school system, which has supported our learning, institutional learning throughout the ages, will lose funds. Those funds will be reallocated to schools whose parents choose for their students to go to. And so we are already dealing with low enrollments across SAISD, San Antonio Independent School District, Northeast Independent School District, Northside School District. And the legislature allocated $1 billion to this particular education savings fund, which means that those institutions won't get it. And so what do we do? Like, how do we sustain our public school system, which is already fractured, especially here in San Antonio, because you have 17, 18, 19 different independent school districts, as it is, on top of all of the charter schools, on top of all of the private schools and parochial schools. And so that's a lot of dividing of already limited funds, and you're going to take a big chunk and move it over here for individuals who may or may not even have access to understand what this means. And if they do have the understanding of, okay, I get to take my child from, and I'm talking about the most vulnerable citizens, those who, maybe go to the grocery store twice a year, but otherwise grocery shop at Dollar General, Family Dollar, neighborhood stores, who don't really have the resources who don't own a laptop, do all of their stuff on their phones, who don't even know what good quality education is. They only know the local school, the public school in their that they're zoned to in their area.
And Preacher Adam stated that you can pretty much predict the level of education or the value or quality of education based on a zip code. It sounds like you're kind of saying the same thing, that depending on where you are, it will dictate what kind of education you're going to get. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in part. I think that those individuals who live in certain zip codes that have access to the internet and access to individuals who can explain to them what good quality education is, they will benefit from, going to, and I'll say Archdiocese school, like a Catholic school, who right now, I don't know any schools, any elementary or middle schools whose tuition is over $10,000. So, and I'm just thinking about, we'll use Holy Cross, for example. Their tuition is $8,000.
Okay.
So that voucher would cover that full tuition for one of those students. But if I live on the east side, or even say west side, and I don't have transportation to get there, even if I do get into school, even if I can't pay my tuition, I still don't have the ability or capabilities to really benefit from this voucher system.
Let me ask you a question. Because with vouchers, there come certain standards, right? So you have to be accredited. You have to be established with at least 2 years in Texas. And you can get up to $10,000 for tuition. Dr. Piper, what's stopping you from starting your own high-level quality private school?
I think that, so first of all, I believe in public education. I'm
Okay.
a product of public education.
Okay.
Even though
Okay.
my daughter goes to private school. And so I don't believe in, so I think we have good high quality education institutions as it stand. And I don't want to saturate a market that I feel like is already saturated.
Okay.
And no offense to Miss Johnson or anybody else who's starting their school. Actually, my church is starting a school, or started a school a few years ago. And I don't have any, I think that what we should be doing is making our current schools better and not continuing to divide resources and to divide services. And so what do you know, with this whole right sizing, there'll have to be another right sizing because we don't have the population of students to even attend schools in the districts that are already zoned for schooling.
2 questions. The first question, because you mentioned that you are a product of the public school system and that you believe in the public school system. But then you also shared that your daughter goes to private school.
She does go to private school, and that is partly because I'm from Houston and I've lived in Louisiana, and when so there are not as many school districts in Houston or the Houston metropolitan area. So I didn't have 17 different choices.
Okay.
And so for me, it was really confusing. You know, it was a lot of looking at stats and determining and figuring out like which school districts better serve my daughter, who is extremely outgoing, and sometimes her personality can come across as being disrespectful or rude, and she's just passionate and emotional. And so I just wanted to make sure that in a system that's so segregated, that I gave her the best opportunity to thrive.
And my second question, and thank you for that response. My second question, you're not only Dr. Piper, you're also Professor Piper. You're a post-secondary educator. When you get your students, do you see a difference in the level of student coming from a public school district as opposed to a private environment?
Not readily. There's no apparent differences. I think the type of education that they receive, whether it was private or public, really does impact or determine how a student will thrive and survive in college. Okay. Because what I have discovered is a lot of students who are coming from private education, they have a better handle on some of the injustices, some of the discriminations that have occurred historically. They know who Malcolm X is. Students from public school don't know who Malcolm X is because they're not teaching that history. They're not teaching indigenous history. They're not teaching like certain types of histories in school. So I do recognize that more of my public school students have more of knowledge or understanding of certain populations' history here in America opposed to others. I have noticed that. But as far as the quality of student, I think it's what's been put into those students that really impacts how they perform in college or at the collegiate level.
Thank you for all of your feedback in this conversation. We're going to continue the conversation. What do you want to leave our TAM viewers with?
So I want to leave the viewers with, don't lose your belief in public education. And I mean, there are some really good public schools that's out here. There are some good school systems that's continuing to educate. Like I have the resources for my daughter to go to public school, private school. And I don't necessarily think, feel, or believe that those resources should be allocated broadly.
And we'll put a pin right there. Continue the conversation. This is Tyrone Darden, Community Conversations on TAN TV.